The next gentleman, Zachary Moore, Dr. Zachary Moore, was a part of the first Texas Freethought Convention in 2008. He helped plan it in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in 2010. Zachary, I can't say enough about him. The guy is just constantly active in his community. He's engaged. Every time I get on meetup.com or on Facebook, I see a picture of him out somewhere doing something with somebody. The guy's fearless, and not only that, he's like a marathon man. Like, he just came in from Detroit last night. He's going to hang out here today with us, and then he's going to hop back up to DFW and do some more organizing and activism up there. So that's really awesome. So everybody, give it up to Dr. Zachary Moore from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and he's going to give you, he's going to talk to you a little bit.
Yes, my name is Zachary Moore. I'm primarily from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'm the coordinator for the Dallas-Fort Worth Coalition of Reason, and I'm active all over there. Let's hear it again for the Secular Coalition for Texas, all right? How awesome is that? How lucky are we in Texas to have such passionate advocates for truth and reason like Brian Walker and Aron? Let's give it up to them. You better believe that I consider myself pretty damn lucky to be in Texas too. You know, I wasn't born here, but I got to Texas as quickly as I could. I came to Texas in 2005 because Texas is awesome. It's awesome for many reasons, but the one that impressed me the most was that Texas has a world-class university system. And after I received my doctorate up north, I wanted to work with some of the best and brightest scientists in my field, so I came to Texas. Texas boasts 7 Nobel laureates, 6 in the sciences, including 4 at UT Southwestern Medical Center, where I spent a year-long fellowship before transitioning into a career in medical writing for oncology. And speaking of oncology, you know that Texas has 4 National Cancer Institute recognized cancer centers, 1 in Dallas, 1 in San Antonio, and 2 in Houston, where our beloved friend and inspiration Christopher Hitchens received treatment for the disease that ultimately took his life. But the medical research that's conducted here in Texas also saves lives every day. And the CPRIT initiative that was actually initiated by the state of Texas here is putting $3 billion into vital cancer research that's being performed by world-class institutions across the Lone Star State. That's awesome. So yes, Texas is awesome. You can take that to the bank. But you know, Texas has been awesome for a very long time. In fact, Texas had only been a state for 3 short years when about 1,000 atheists showed up from Germany, the Freithinkers, or freethinkers, and they settled here in the Hill Country. The German freethinkers were anti-authoritarian, pro-democratic, and disciples of the Enlightenment. They loved science, and they had no time for superstition. And they strongly opposed the intermingling of church and state. They opposed blue laws, religious instruction in schools, religious oaths in government, and government-led prayers. You hear that, Rick Perry? They also opposed slavery. This put them at odds with their Texas Confederate neighbors during the Civil War, and it really didn't work out so well for them, unfortunately. But the German freethinkers remain a powerful example to all of us here in the 21st century. They were not afraid to stand up for their beliefs, to claim the moral high ground, while their religious neighbors succumbed to superstition and bigotry. So let's hear it for the German freethinkers and their legacy. Who wants to continue what they started? Yeah! So yes, Texas is awesome. And when my little boy right over there was born in January of this year, it got a little more awesome. I've learned so much from him in the past short months that he's been in my life. He's one of those lucky ones that Professor Dawkins talks about. But I'm lucky too to be his father. And you know, up in Dallas, babies are popping up left and right in our atheist organization, the Fellowship of Freethought. So much so that it seems like there's always somebody pregnant every time, which is nice because it's really good to have friends up there who are going through parenthood just like we are. And it's also nice to have hand-me-down clothes that we can pass around among the group. But it's also nice to know that these kids, my son and his young friends, are going to be raised in a very different culture than what I grew up in, than what almost all of us grew up in. We have a tremendous demographic advantage, my friends, because the Pew Forum research that Brian just mentioned, that shows that the religiously unaffiliated in this country are growing like crazy. In just a few short years, there will be more people without religious affiliation than there are affiliated Catholics. Imagine that. That's roughly 1 out of every 5 Americans. And in the youngest generation, it's already 1 out of every 3. For my son's generation, it'll probably be fully half of the population of America. As this is happening, we're seeing some big changes in the cultural landscape. We have a president that finally acknowledges that we exist. We've seen atheist books multiplying in popularity. We've also seen the rise of grassroots Freethought organizations, just like what's happening here today. And eventually, we'll see a society that doesn't bat an eye when someone mentions their atheism. I predict that we'll see atheist mayors elected. We'll see atheist governors elected. And I'm convinced in my lifetime we'll see an atheist president too. Kids like my son are going to be raised in a culture where not believing in God is not a big deal. It's already happening, in fact. At Camp Quest, Texas, I've talked with kids who already are starting to notice that their friends don't really care quite so much that they're not religious. You know, and that wasn't the case just a few years ago, back when we first held our very first camp, but it's sure happening now. It's starting to make a difference. You guys are starting to make a difference. And religious believers are starting to take notice of this difference too. Just a few short weeks ago, I was at a conference at a megachurch in Dallas that was organized to help Christians deal with the threat of atheism. Yeah, you heard me right. Christians are afraid of atheists. They're afraid of running into an atheist and having a simple coffee shop conversation that will devastate their worldview. They really are. And I can tell you, for the average Christian, they're right to be afraid, because the best example that they had at that conference was a famous apologist who thought it would be a good idea to show his strength of religion by debating for an hour with an empty chair. That was the best that they had to show that day. It really was. Now, I don't want to be too hard on our religious neighbors here in Texas. After all, I used to be pretty religious myself, and I still have many religious friends who are good people, thoughtful people, but unfortunately significantly outnumbered by the other pew potatoes. And you know what else? We conducted a survey in the Dallas-Fort Worth Coalition of Reason that showed 80% of us used to be pretty religious at some time too. So I try not to be too hard on them. Besides, I like to visit churches around town, and it's really encouraging to know that when I do, I'm actually meeting a lot of future atheists. So it's just a matter of time, folks. Those of us who have adopted a reason-driven life here, but it's not gonna end with us. People are dropping out of pews left and right, and they're showing up in our growing and multiplying Freethought organizations all over the state. We will still have small-minded cheerleaders in tiny towns to deal with for years to come, that's true, but they're the last gasps of a dying culture, so don't worry about them. Make no mistake, we have the intellectual high ground. We have the moral high ground, and it's only a matter of time before we have the cultural high ground too. So I'm telling you, stand up and be proud to be out as atheists. Atheists in Texas. Coffee shop haunting, cheerleader taunting atheists in Texas. We're awesome. Yes. And what makes Texas awesome today is that over the past decade, people like you and me have been seeking each other out, looking for others like us that had Professor Dawkins' books on their shelves or Chris Hitchens' books on their shelves, and we have organized. Oh, how we have organized. You know, when they say everything is bigger in Texas, they ain't lying. The atheist and secular community here in Texas is bigger and more active than anywhere else in the country. Possibly even the world. There's thousands of atheists in Dallas-Fort Worth, where I'm from, thousands more in Houston, and still more thousands here in Austin, San Antonio, Corpus Christi, Lubbock, Waco, Tyler, Amarillo, and even El Paso. We atheists, we free thinkers, we humanists, we Texans, we natives and newcomers alike, we are Texans too. We are teachers, we are nurses, we are builders and dentists and students and musicians and bakers and photographers and pharmacists and poets. We may not believe in God, but we are Texans too. We cook meals for the needy. We pick up trash along the roadside. We collect food and clothes for the homeless, and we donate blood by the gallon. We may not go to church, but we are Texans too. We love barbecue, Tex-Mex, Asian and Indian and Polish and soul food, turnip greens and bacon, vegan blueberry pancakes, and of course kolaches. We may not say grace before we eat, but we are Texans too. We adopt animals from shelters. We adopt children into our families. We go to PTA meetings. We go and help our kids with their homework, and we bake cupcakes for their fundraisers. We may not send our kids to Sunday school, but we are Texans too. We are Democrats and Libertarians and Independents. We are Republicans and moderates and hippies, but we all care about Texas. And we vote. And when we vote, we may not pray in that voting booth, but we are Texans too. Say it with me. We are Texans too. Yeah. We are Texans too. So remember that. Remember that this weekend as we whoop it up Texas style here in the Capitol. So be proud to be a Texan, but you can be extra proud to be a Texan atheist. We are atheists, and we are awesome, and we are Texans too. Thank you so much.
I don't know how you can follow that. Thanks, Zach.